All right, we're back. This is Inspired Voices, reality show edition. Part 2. We're covering me and Sybil here. We're covering Love is Blind season 8, episodes 4 through 6 in this episode. So yeah, last 3 episodes were kind of like establishing people and starting to get some love triangle things happening.
Thinking we get out of the pods. Bless you. Okay.
Yeah.
And we didn't. And spoiler alert, we're not going to get out in these last 3 either. Like,
We getting comfy in here.
yeah, like for real. Blankets, like the whole deal. Yeah, not going to lie. This 6 episode drop was a lot.
It's very a lot.
And not necessarily in the best way.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think in the middle of the 6 episodes, I was like, I feel like they could have cut some things out or something like that. But I guess, we'll see what happens and how it makes sense.
Yeah, by the 6th episode, my notes start to get a little sparse. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, we get it. Like,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
someone gonna meet?
Right.
But still, it's getting interesting.
Yeah.
Especially with the love triangles.
Yeah.
So we get into episode 4 entitled, So Your Girlfriend Has a Boyfriend.
Bada bing, bada boom. I'm guessing this has to do with the triangles involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're going to start with not a triangle, but a very awkward couple, Sarah and Ben.
Bada bing.
All right. So Ben asks if Sarah is his girlfriend and then accidentally says he loves her, but then corrects himself and says he's falling in love with her.
Oh, I didn't hear that first part.
Oh, no, there's a difference. Yeah.
Oh,
He was
gotcha.
like, because I love you. But, so I'm falling in love with you. Right. And then we get into politics chat.
Yeah. Sarah grew up as a conservative. Ben didn't vote in the last election. He's kind of...
Well, Sarah grew up as a conservative, but then went very liberal.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not conservative at this point from what we're getting.
Oh, she grew up conservative.
Right.
That's what I meant to say.
No, you did.
I did.
But then we didn't switch to she grew up conservative, but then she got liberal.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, there we go. My mind is going blank right now.
It was a lot. It was so much. No worries. So yeah, and you're right. Like Ben was like, yeah, I didn't vote in the last election, and like you can tell that he wants to just stay neutral. He doesn't want to have a strong opinion one way or the other about anything.
Which is a problem.
Facts. Especially for Sarah.
Yep.
Because then Sarah asks, so what are your thoughts on BLM? Like she asked about George Floyd, and he was like, I haven't educated myself on that.
Yeah, he wants to he just keeps out of it. That's he kept saying that, right? I just want to keep out of it.
Well, yeah, I need to educate myself on that.
Or just stay out of it. Yeah.
Right. And Sarah stands on business about George Floyd, and she was like, she don't like Ben's answers.
No, I don't like that answer.
Yeah, just like about staying out of it. And in all caps in my notes, I have they need to break up now. Because you can tell she's very clear on where she stands. Ben is very not.
I think he would have had a harder time if they were looking at each other because her facial expressions on his answers to the BLM and all these other things political wise, like she wasn't having it.
Right. I think it would have been hard for him to get off the hook.
Yeah.
And then Sarah clearly was like, I want someone who's in agreement on basic human rights.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Right.
And then I just have Ben as beyond evasive. Like, it's just like, I need to educate myself on that. And I don't want to, like, sir,
He's giving me, none of these problems concern me.
Yeah.
Right? So I have no knowledge of it.
And Sarah said something like that. She was like, it's easy for us not to have an opinion on a certain situation, because it may not affect you, but you should. And it's very clear that it's very important to Sarah, and that's what's going to be likely the linchpin in their relationship.
Yeah.
Like it's seen, like from the outside looking in, and of course we see a snippet of all the time we spend together, or of all the time they spend together. It seems super clear, so it's one of those couples where I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But
and it's almost like that other couple in the last season, where the mom was like hard on her, and she was a military, and she wanted to talk about. She was prior to being in the military, but her guy wasn't. Like, why did you join the military?
Oh yeah. That was.
It's like that. When it comes to stuff like that, that's like value stuff, you know.
That was an awkward one. Yeah, that was awkward to watch, actually. Him and his little rat tail.
Yeah.
Ooh, child. All right. So we go back to the men's lounge, and Alex of Alex and Madison is talking about the love triangle with the guys, because he realizes he's in one because Madison has essentially confirmed it for him in previous dates. So Alex and Mason now know they're in the same love triangle.
Yeah. I feel like tensions are rising in the men's group at this point, but everyone's still being friendly with each other.
I feel like something is just weird in the men's lounge, especially with how Alex and Mason interact moving forward and some of the things Alex does. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's actually more tension in the women's lounge, particularly between Lauren and Molly, even though Molly doesn't know it. I think Meg has tension with herself. like, you know, Madison is not sweating it at all.
Yeah.
But Meg's over there just spinning her wheels, just being like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't understand what's going on in the men's lounge, honestly. And this Alex and Mason interaction threw me for a loop. But
they were still being friendly though. So.
No, exactly. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll see. So Mason has another date with Madison.
Yep.
And Mason doubles down again. I feel like I said doubles down so many times. It should be a different number at this point.
Right. Yeah.
But it gets the point. Like he
goes is committed to her
so much until he's not. So he doubles down and wants to, you know, quote, trust his gut and admits that he's committed to her.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Took us by surprise.
No question about this.
Because he has some time to think now about this whole situation.
To walk away.
Right.
She made it so clear.
Yeah.
And then Madison asks if she feels, or if he feels like he had, Madison asks if he feels like she gave him an ultimatum. And meanwhile, she's sitting on her side of the pod just looking completely uninterested.
Yeah.
Once again, trying to give him a breadcrumb of like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that if that's what you think happened.
Yeah.
Like I was literally like, go with her.
His answers are all less elusive and just like, just what she wants to hear. That's it.
This is when except she doesn't.
Right.
This is when it would have been helpful to be able to see each other. Because like she's trying to communicate. I don't want this. Go over there. But it's not landing. So like they kind of have this awkward conversation where like he's committing to her and like blah blah blah, and then they just go back to like making sex jokes, and then there's like an awkward exchange about Madison liking cream pies.
Right. Yeah. Again, like I said before, I feel like it's just a sexual tension that he has with her.
Yeah, 100%. So Madison goes back to the women's lounge and says she doesn't know how she feels, but her reactions look like she's just not that into him. Like it was very weird to me. I was just like, and it could be once again editing, maybe, or maybe that's just her confused face. I don't know, but it looked weird.
I mean, I wouldn't blame her. I mean, like he just seems like the type that Mason seems like the type that doesn't make decisions in relationships.
He just kind of constantly wants to be like, I'll be here, don't leave me.
Yeah. I'm your puppy. I go where you go kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a rough one. But then Meg and Mason have a date.
Yeah.
And I will say, I like putting the dates back to back.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier to like,
follow.
A, remember what they just said to their other love triangle person, and B, just like see the differences so clearly.
Yeah.
Of like interactions and things like that.
Right.
So Mason says, Meg asked him like what love looks like for him. And he's like, it's like a big container full with like ice cream or candy, and your partner gets the best bite.
I thought that was nice. I like that. What'd you think? You thought differently?
Here's the thing. I think it's cute, but I will honestly, my first reaction was, what do you have left for you? Like, so your partner's getting the best bite. What are you keeping for yourself?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
That was my first thought. And And maybe it's because of the interactions I'm seeing that I'm just like,
That goes back to the puppy thing.
right. Like,
I follow you.
I'm just going to give you all the things.
Yeah.
And, I don't know.
I'm just here by your side. Hey.
Yeah. So then Meg, right. So then Meg talks about how her butt tingles during breakups. You can't make this up.
Yeah. I feel like that'll be every time we get into an argument or something like that. I'm just going to ask you, like, is your butt tingling? Or like maybe if you're staying quiet, I don't know what's wrong with you. You know, is your butt tingling? Oh, let's talk about it.
I mean, like, it's so weird because, like, it's not going well. So technically her butt tingles are kind of on point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, everybody has, I guess, their different version of a spidey sense. And I guess that's hers. So I can't judge.
Hey.
Meg asked Mason if he has a strong connection with others because she just doesn't want him to just not show up one day.
Right.
So she's trying to address the energy shift that she's been feeling for a minute. Mm-hmm. That Mason won't validate, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's time to make a decision.
Oh, it's big time.
Clear.
We could have made a decision episode 2. So Mason tells Meg that he just told Madison that he's committed to her.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this is still not a breakup conversation.
Yeah.
And for that reason, lingering. I don't know.
Right.
And then we go back to to Alex and Madison. Mm-hmm. And Alex sent Madison snacks.
Well, carrots? Was that the carrot one?
Carrots and grapes.
Carrots
and she was super excited about it.
Yeah.
She's like, this is my favorite. You know, to each their own. Don't judge.
Okay.
Don't judge. They talk about their dream houses since Alex has been looking for houses for the past few months.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a good way to build rapport.
Yeah. And it's an honest conversation. Like,
it is.
How do you see yourself living? You know, are you somebody who wants to be in the mansion and, you know, have all the things, which to each their own.
Yeah.
Or are you someone who is just like, no, I'm a minimalist and less is more, blah, blah, blah. Like, it matters.
And then he could have gone deeper with like, okay, you're talking about how your dream house. Now let's talk about like how you interact in the house. Like, are you a morning person or do you?
To be fair, they've gone so deep so many times. Like I was okay, just like, oh.
But
like,
still important conversations to have.
True. But I mean, I like hold my breath sometimes with this couple. We're just like, oh, where are we going? What trauma are we going to talk about? Are we trauma bonding? What are we doing?
Yeah. Is he going to get upset?
Right. Is he going to pace around that couch more? So they talk about where they'd want to live. And Madison's fine either way. Mm-hmm. You know, they can live, you know, where they are. Or they can move to other places. She's fine.
Yeah. He said that Madison was his number one.
Gotcha.
From the start.
Which is interesting considering how he interacts sometimes, but yes.
But now we're getting into they are official, right?
Yeah, they get there because they talk about, Madison mentions she's never been in love before.
Oh, right, yeah.
And Alex confirms, like, you know, which I was very surprised by. He didn't, like, take it as, like, a red flag. And he was just like, I just think you've never been with the right people.
Right. Do you think that's a red flag, or do you think that's...
I don't think it's a red flag. I think it can be very decisive about just, like, no, it wasn't there. Like, the only way you're going to know is by, like, trying to date.
Yeah.
You know, and either it happens or it doesn't.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then Alex reassures Madison that he's not running away, despite the issues she mentioned.
Right.
So now it's finally his turn to give some reassurance. Madison's clearly feeling Alex and not Mason at this point. Like, it's very obvious. And she confirms her feelings for Alex and says that the other guy is just a friend. So seems like it's going to be smooth sailing. They make it official. They're girlfriend, boyfriend. They're both like weirdly like walking around the couch as they're having this whole conversation.
It's like the connection is there, even physically. And
then, even though it seemed like Alex already knew who Madison was dating, he asks specifically, and you know, Madison confirms, you know, she was dating Mason, and then Alex kind of weirdly goes into how Mason's a good guy.
Yeah. Didn't go too much into it, but still questioned it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Alex goes back to the men's lounge and announces, even though he knows that Mason was still the other person, and Madison has not broken up with him yet, announces that he has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then Madison goes back to the women's lounge and announces she has a boyfriend. But Alex also says in the men's lounge that his girlfriend will break up with the other guy while Mason is right there, which was super weird to me.
You think Mason knew
Yeah.
that it was him?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they said that at one point. Like, it was clear. Like, that was very weird to me. And then Mason and Alex chat, and Alex pretends he doesn't know it's Mason who his girlfriend is breaking up with.
Yeah.
Like, Alex starts to throw me for a loop here.
Yeah.
But then we move on to Devin and Brittany. And this is finally where we really get some depth.
Yeah.
Like, true depth here.
Yeah.
That we actually get to see. Devin says he can see a future with Brittany. And then he tells kind of a backstory about his history with basketball.
Yeah, how he got injured, and then he went to took ibuprofen 2-4 times a day. Then it turned all the way up to 20 times a day taking ibuprofen.
He had back pain, shooting pain. His feet were going numb, like a lot of things that resulted in that. And he started feeling like, kind of, what's the point, like, with life?
Yeah.
If he can't play. Brittany's weeping at this point.
Yeah.
You know, and he finally decides he's going to go to another doctor. He's going to give it one more chance. And the doctor correctly diagnoses him. Essentially, his femur bone was rubbing against his pelvic bone.
Yeah.
He had to have a surgery on his hips to fix it. Pain goes away. Now he can play basketball. He's good.
Yeah.
Brittany's very reassuring. Don't be ashamed about this. You know, just
Yeah, because he's never talked about it. Yeah.
real. And you can tell he said, like, he's carrying shame about, like, how he handled the ibuprofen and, like, all of that.
Yeah.
You know, she's super supportive, reassuring. And then you can tell in that moment, because he just shared this deep thing.
Yeah.
And they just had this moment that she feels like, she kind of, like, takes a breath, and you're like, uh-oh, what you about to say? And then essentially she reveals that she's bisexual.
Right.
And that she's dated a few women, but she doesn't see herself marrying a woman.
Right.
And from what we can see, it just looks like Devin is kind of tensed up.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to make of it because he's never dealt with something like that in his life.
Yeah. It definitely didn't come up like, oh, I'm just taking it in stride. It was like, no, I'm thinking about this. I need to process this.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
Brittany confirms that regardless of, like, she's attracted to people, but regardless of who she's attracted to, she's still monogamous. So it doesn't matter who she's going to be with. When she's with one person, she's with one person.
Yeah.
But Brittany can tell things have shifted. And she said, like, like, I don't feel like, you know, this is something that, you know, like, the support's being reciprocated.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
After she told him that, like, her reaction to his story compared to his reaction to her story.
It was painful.
That was painful. Like, that would have got, my feelings wouldn't have gotten hurt.
My feelings were hurt. They were hurt for her.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, because, like, you could see that, like, I don't think she was planning on telling that story.
Right.
But he just had such a vulnerable moment with her that she took a leap.
Yeah.
And she wasn't met with the same understanding. And that's rough. Especially when he's just like, I can see myself proposing to you.
Right.
So Devin goes back to the men's lounge. And he's telling them, like, he doesn't say exactly what she spoke about, but he says, like, I don't know how to respond to what she admitted. You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, now he's back to, it seems a little more obvious, like, he doesn't know who to pick. Because he's like, I don't know who to pick. And I think had Brittany not said that and revealed that truth about herself, he would have been more clear on that.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't have been good for her.
That's true.
Or fair to her. You know? So that was definitely a rough one.
Yeah, it was.
And then Brittany goes back to the women's lounge, and with Virginia there, her competition, you know, discussed that, like, she knew the mood shifted. You know? And, like, how difficult that is. And, like, also being like, I was just there for him, and I didn't feel like I was getting back the same.
Right.
You know? And then we see, like, this dichotomy, because then Devin and Virginia have a date.
Yeah.
Like, right afterwards.
Devin wants to continue the deep conversation talk with her as well. But she says that she's shy and and she doesn't really open up like that, and he kind of tries to break through that wall, right?
But she admits that she has feelings for Devin. And he, vice versa.
Yeah, and Virginia said that she doesn't put much into dating, like put much effort into dating.
She doesn't have to. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
She's beautiful. She's smart. When you don't have a scarcity mindset about men or like your partners in general, like there's always going to be a next one.
Yeah.
There's not that much pressure. But then also she mentioned that she didn't have any examples of positive relationships outside of her grandparents.
Right.
So it could be a bit of a combo.
Yeah.
Like I got men knocking down my door, so there'll be another one.
Yeah.
And then eventually, you'll figure it out.
And then Devin starts to go into his story again.
Yep.
Right? About what happened with the pills and all that stuff. And her response was a little bit different than Brittany's.
She didn't affirm him the same way.
Right. And eventually, it was good the way she affirmed him.
Right.
But in the beginning, it was just like, yeah, oh, I'm sorry that happened. So
Yep.
I'm like, oh, that's it? Damn.
And then she ended it with like, the experiences like that are supposed to bring you closer to God. And that was kind of like it wrapped in a bow. But if you play those moments kind of back to back between Virginia and Brittany,
Yeah.
it was they just had very different approaches.
Right.
But it was so interesting because then at the end of the clip, you see Devin kind of being like, you're right, thank you. And it just being such a...
Which one do you think was better, Brittany's or Virginia's?
I don't like to say better, but Brittany. Totally. No, it just seemed... It seemed that they were just on the same level when they were speaking.
Right.
And really connecting. Where it wasn't... I don't want to say pity, but like with Virginia, it seemed a little bit just more like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. Like, let me give you some words of encouragement versus Brittany, who was like, I will hold you down. Don't feel ashamed about that.
Yeah.
I just feel like the passion was maybe a little different.
Like Brittany was more like, I got your back.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Virginia was more words of encouragement,
Right.
but Brittany was, I got you.
Exactly.
And then we move on to Taylor and Daniel. My notes say boring. And there's really not that much that goes on here. But Taylor does say that her dad is sick. And she's had some thoughts about she may have to leave. And Daniel, to his credit, says, I want to let you know, like, if you have to leave and you couldn't talk to me about it, I would find you. And it's a good line.
Yeah.
And it's what she wanted to hear.
Right.
So that was nice. All right, we go back to the women's lounge. Once again, more Lauren and Molly tension in this love triangle is building.
Yeah.
And then we see a date with Molly and David.
Yep.
David asks if there's a specific ring she would like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Important question.
Big question.
Gold
in
or
this.
silver? They're both gold.
They are both gold.
Yeah.
Molly doesn't know the names of rings, but, she's unique. Maybe have an emerald.
That helps him out.
Just get one. Just get one. Make it gold, just make it a ring.
Yeah.
David confirms, it's starting to separate, and Molly could be it. Then we go back to the women's lounge, and Lauren needs space between her and Molly for the day. She's clearly picking up on how Molly is feeling after the date. Molly finally realizes that Lauren is David's other person. She thought it was a whole other girl this whole time.
Yeah.
And it finally clicks.
Yep.
David then goes in, has a date with Lauren. Lauren essentially lays it all on the table. And she's just like, Molly said that she was your number one connection when Molly came in the lounge. And David's like, wait a minute. Not what happened. And he didn't want to get caught up in the quote unquote girl drama.
Right.
Which was not cool.
That was a triggering word right there.
It just wasn't. And she's like, I don't think that's what this is.
Right.
So they go back and forth. And that basically concludes our episode 4. Then we get in episode 5, breaking up is hard to do, where we're hoping that some things are like finally going to make a move here. We can stop dragging all this out.
Right. Yeah. Jeez.
Lauren goes back into a date with David. She isn't even sitting down. Like, she is hot. She
Right.
is walking around that couch, not having it.
Yeah.
David acknowledges that he and Molly are the same person, but admits that they haven't gone deep this many days in.
Right.
Which is also really weird. And then Lauren's like, but I don't understand how you can connect the same way that we did, which is a fair question.
Yeah.
And I don't think David understands that either. And Lauren is flat out just like, David, you are the reason I am still here.
Yeah, like he's the only one, right?
Right. He says, Dave's stepmom was like, well, I thought you were kidding. Like, he thought Lauren was kidding with how serious she was when she was like, cancel your other dates.
Oh, right. I mean, she did say it in a playful way, though, you know?
She did, but I feel like Lauren has been very clear that like she's all in on him.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Right.
Oh, at this point I also noticed we're consistently seeing food in these pods, these meals, breakfast, all these things, you know, because Netflix has previously gotten sued about like not having food and stuff for the contestants.
Right.
So I do think it's hilarious that they're making it so consistent. But Dave then goes on to say, confirms that he never told Molly that she was his number one choice.
Mm-hmm.
And
didn't I say that just before? Molly and David. Yeah, David says Molly is her number one from day one.
Right, and then he comes back and confirms that never happened.
Yeah.
To Lauren.
So gaslight right there.
Basically.
Yeah.
But I think he's also gaslighting himself. Like, it's ridiculous at this point. He's like, I'm trying to think back. I don't know what happened. Lauren, at this point, have you ever watched Grey's Anatomy?
No. Well, some of it.
All right. So Meredith Grey, the lead character, at one point says to the guy she's in love with, pick me, choose me, love me. Mm. Lauren is giving that right now. She literally was like, pick me.
Yeah.
Like, full stop.
Like, why aren't you picking me?
Right. Like, I'm here.
Yeah.
And David mentions that he feels like he may be reverting back to his old ways. And he's scared of his feelings towards her. So that's the whole.
You think because she's different from what he's used to?
Right.
Yeah.
And like how he feels, you know, he's so different with her, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And his heart is throbbing and deciding on which girl and stuff like that.
Whereas Molly's the one he just has so much fun with. And she's the same person as him.
Right.
We go back to the women's lounge and the ladies notice that Lauren has been in the pod for an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. When Molly had gone back and was like, well, I'm expecting him to break up with her. Mm-hmm. So that's when they were like, well, why is she in there so long if they're just breaking up?
Yeah.
So then Madison tells Lauren that Molly was like, yeah, they said David was going to break up with you. And then Madison straight up was like, I think he's playing the both of you.
Yeah.
Which is also why I like Madison.
Yeah.
Like, that's a friend.
Yeah.
You know? So then we take a break from that drama, and then we get back to Devin and Brittany. Mm-hmm. This conversation loved it. Chef's kiss for me.
Yeah. Yeah, she went in and kind of just laid it out on the table and just kind of broke it up with Devin.
Mm-hmm. Let's pull the plug.
Yeah.
You know, she was like, I woke up sad. You know,
we're not each other's person.
No, gave him the breakup speech.
Right.
And Devin is still pretty shut down, like kind of hands quietly folded.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay.
And you know what? He was kind of like accepting of it, He said bye. And then surprisingly, because Brittany came in with wanting to break up with him, he left first, but she stayed in a pod.
She did.
For quite a while,
just
it seems like.
Staring.
Yeah. I was like, oh, damn, I'm surprised. I thought she would have left first, you know?
But I think she let him off the hook. She knew what was coming.
Yeah.
But I was just so happy that she was like, you just didn't support me. And she didn't try and run after him.
Right.
And make it something it's not.
Right.
But then Devin goes in with Virginia and, you know, confirms it's official. It's officially just them.
Mm-hmm. You give each other gifts, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's the matching passport cover. And, she gave him or loaned him or showed him her grandmother's ring.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
It represents love that she desires. The love that she desires.
Exactly.
And he gave her a cutting board.
Right.
To cook on.
With the best. It was like this big. And I was like, what are you going to cut on that? Like,
some garlic.
Some vegetables. And the small ones.
Right.
And a necklace. But yeah, now they're just like smooth sailing, I guess.
Yeah.
It was a weird.
Yeah.
I hope the timing of that wasn't that accurate.
Probably.
Ugh. We get back to Ben and Sarah, to which I say, why are they still talking? And Sarah confirms that she feels like this is it. And then it gets funny because they're having this like deep conversation and the camera angle is weird and it is cut off half of Ben's body and you just see his legs and torso.
Yeah, they're like out of camera.
Yeah. But then Sarah's also like, but I still want to talk about like some deeper things. But they don't really go into it right there.
Yeah.
And Sarah goes back to the women's lounge. And she actually starts talking with Lauren. And she's like, she wants to know if they're on the same page about the social issues, or at least if Ben wants to learn about them, because she's not sure. And I think Lauren was like, but do you have enough time? Which is a fair question.
Right.
We go back to Ben and Sarah. They acknowledge their connection, but Sarah needs the reassurance about social issues. And Ben's like, I don't want you to have to teach me, but she will.
Yeah.
And Sarah concedes to that and just says, you know what? I totally believe in it. And then he proposes. Of course, she accepts.
Yep.
Let's see. We hit up the women's lounge, and Lauren goes on this conversation. She's like, I don't think I'm dumb, and I don't think Molly's dumb.
Yeah.
But one of us is Delulu, because she's like, but she might be behind, with David. They can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And the energy has it's clear at this point. It is weird in the lounge. They acknowledge it. Lauren's distancing herself, something's off in the women's lounge. So we go back to David and Molly. David has been crying for the last hour. This dude is a mess at this point.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't know what to do with his feelings.
This was such a red flag to me, because he says, how can I be such a different person hours ago?
You think he was talking about the crying, not crying?
I think he's talking about with different people. But I can see your point.
Oh.
But I was just like, oh, sir. He said it's harder to be the best version of himself. And Molly pretty much just lets him off the hook.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, she says, I don't think you're a bad person. Either way,
She says she's not going to force anything.
And Molly's pretty much just telling him what to do at this point.
Facts.
Yeah.
Molly literally is the one who is she helps him make a decision.
Yeah.
He admits that he has to see it through with Lauren, and he has more of a emotional connection, but he hates that it's like that, though.
Yeah.
And Molly lets him know, well, it sounds like you made your decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's okay with it.
Yeah. Very mature.
She's a rock star,
Taking it in stride.
She just wants someone to choose her for her.
Exactly.
Fully.
And, she called it, said he's trying to make her make the decision for him.
Yeah.
But he was like, I thought I was very clear. He was not.
No, he was not.
He was not. Clear as mud. We go back to the women's lounge, and then Molly and Lauren talk. Molly, is crying, and just lets Lauren know that she didn't say anything in front of her on purpose. That wasn't her intent.
Yeah, yeah.
Lauren acknowledges, what was happening, and says, yeah, then, this whole thing was the reason I was distancing myself.
Yeah.
And Molly says promises were made. She's trying to be look, I'm not crazy though. Promises were made. And, but knows that David wants to pursue things with Lauren. And Lauren, point blank period, he should not have put us in this position.
Right.
Which I appreciated. I appreciated they weren't fighting each other.
That's true.
And realize what the scenario was.
Exactly.
And it was a genuine grown up conversation.
It was, yeah.
Lauren goes back in with Dave after this. And Dave says he's scared to be happy. And scared that his mind can change so much in one day.
Yeah, that's a red flag for me.
See? I think it was a red flag for Lauren too, because she was like, yeah, I'm scared of that too.
Right.
And Lauren asked if promises were made, meeting to Molly, about ending things with her. And Dave was like, no, absolutely not. And it was
then
really...
he goes on a little rant right there about Molly. And damn, he's digging himself into a hole at that point.
He was playing semantics.
Yeah.
I didn't promise it. I said I might.
Yeah, I remember one time Molly did this and that, and then the way she did this, and no, don't be saying, just stop,
Stop crying, stop talking, just stop. So Dave says Molly didn't really care, and she was way too cool about the breakup, like you're saying, digging himself a ditch.
Yeah.
Lauren acknowledges that he likely said things that made Molly feel how she did.
Yeah.
Appreciated that. Dave was like, Molly was never my number one. Don't feel like that's true. Still, and when Lauren's trying to move past it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Still worried his sister's gonna freak out. And then Dave went back to look at his notes to figure out if he loved Lauren.
Did I say that?
And then I just have in my notes, so much therapy is needed.
Right.
It's just and then he starts reading his notes to reaffirm. I do. Then we go to Daniel and Taylor. They give gifts. They both give Christmas gifts.
Right.
So Daniel gives a Christmas stocking. They both have to find out they have the same stocking. And says that that's the one he uses in his Christmas photos yearly. And Taylor gives Daniel a Christmas ornament in hopes that, like, it's like I think an ornament with like the family's photos on it. Mm-hmm. So in hopes that he'll be in it next year.
Right.
And then Taylor asks, what is his biggest insecurity? And Daniel was like, well, he didn't grow like his height, like in the eighth and ninth grade.
He was a small child.
Like 5'8". It's not that deep. And then Taylor talks about her body and like she doesn't weigh herself anymore and like the pressure. And it was interesting because I was wondering if that was going to be one of those things where, like, I can't remember where we've seen it or what season, if it was this or the ultimatum or what, when somebody was like, oh, I was concerned about my weight or something like that, and then like the other person takes it as, oh, you know, then they may not be in shape and blah blah blah, and like they run with it. So I was curious. I was like, oh, is he gonna run with it?
Right.
But he didn't, and instead he was just like, yeah, I don't weigh myself either, you know, and just kind of dropped it there. And then they have this weird conversation about whether Daniel knows what Taylor looks like from Instagram. And immediately I was like, oh wait, is this gonna be the couple from the promo? Like, this is a weird conversation. But then we move on to the reveal of Sarah and Ben.
Mm-hmm. He sprints out that door.
Yes, he does.
And she walks towards him, and I was like, oh, she's giving a look. Like, she's slightly smiling, but like
it wasn't
really
giving face.
Right.
Yeah, it was a little weird. And he cries like when they he ran to her. And then, like, they hugged, like, he starts to cry a little bit.
Right.
Like, they kiss, and then he does the proposal thing. Cute kiss. Nothing to write home about.
And they both said, I love you.
Oh, they did.
They did, yeah.
Once again, we're doing a lot of champagne drinking this reveal season.
Yeah. I mean, it's a moment to drink champagne, so makes sense.
She also breaks out in hives.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where those hives were coming from. Was it like, I'm nervous or I'm not happy? I'm not really sure.
Which one is it?
And then they kind of check themselves out in the mirror. But then, like, walking back, like when he walked her back, like they made out some. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, well, they're physically attracted to each other.
Yeah.
Then we go back to Lauren and Dave. He finally proposes.
Right.
So we're out of there, finally.
Jesus.
And then they go back to the men's lounge. And they're talking to Mason, and he looks just a little defeated.
Right.
You know, him and Madison haven't even broken up yet, and he looks defeated.
Right.
But then it's weird because he says, like, he doesn't know if he's proposing or not.
Yeah, to the guys. Yeah. And he's like you could tell the pressure is just getting to him.
And then we also remember he hasn't broken up with Meg either. Mm-hmm. So then we're like, well, wait a minute. Who are you proposing to?
Yeah. And like, you could tell by his response, the guys were like, ugh. This isn't good.
Because you know Alex has probably already talked to them and be like, she's breaking up with him. She's dumping him. And he's the only one who doesn't know.
Right.
You know, so then we get into the pods with Madison and Mason. Mm-hmm. Madison finally breaks up with Mason. Like, stop doing the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Didn't she... Yeah, no. So, Mason and Madison, right?
Yeah.
So Mason brings in food, right?
It was all
full plate. Pancakes, big ass pies, eggs, all that. And as soon as they get in, Madison breaks the fuck. She just breaks up with him.
He was like, I'm not eating this now. Because that was my question. I was like, you think he's gonna eat it?
It's like at that point, like, do you take the food?
He did.
Does she take the food?
I don't think she took the food.
I know, but would you take the food?
Oh, you know me. Of course I take the food.
I take the food too.
I may not eat it now, but I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, I'm taking it too.
A little snackish later.
Yeah, shit, that's a full meal.
But and that's the messed up part is she's like, well, I assumed you already knew. But it's not messed up when she told Alex. So like it's a little weird. But also during this breakup, Mason steps in it because he starts trying to backtrack and being like his statement about being committed to Madison.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, you know, it just didn't feel right. And Madison was like, yeah, I kind of saw that.
Yeah.
You know, and Madison let Mason know that she already talked to Meg. And he may have lost the both of them because he was trying to keep two good things going. And you see Mason kind of like put his hand in his head Riera had his hand and be like, oh, shit.
Yep.
And Madison ended the conversation by telling him to, like, just be honest in your other conversations today.
Right.
And I was like, wow. It was a bit of a mic drop, but it was
The
true.
most basic thing you could do. Just be honest.
Let's try it. Go back to the men's lounge. Mason lets the guys know that he got broken up with.
Yep.
And weirdly enough, Alex is the one that comes up and hugs him. And then Mason said, like, he's like, well, I'm worried about what's being said in the women's lounge. And he says that, Mason says he had clarity about what he'd said previously. He got clarity the night before.
Yeah.
And he knew it didn't feel right and was going to bring that up today. Yeah, lies. And then we head over to the women's lounge.
Yeah.
And Madison's telling Meg she doesn't think she'll be impressed. And, you know, Meg doesn't know what she's going to do. I was very shocked that Meg was still so confused.
Right.
You know?
That's true. And then they said that they were going through like an ego death in this process, right?
Virginia said that to her.
Oh, Virginia said that to her?
And because Meg honestly and accurately was like, but a lot of this is about my pride, because she straight up was like, how am I going to know if he really wanted me if she already broke up with him, which was 100% accurate and fair. But then they're like encouraging her, like, not to let her ego, not to let it be about her pride. And I'm like, well, not just about her pride. Like, this is shady AF. Like,
yeah.
common sense says problems.
Right. There's more layers to it.
Right.
That's for sure.
So then Meg and Mason meet.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was going to go down here because Meg was so all over the place.
Yeah.
And
it's like a TV moment, right? Like, is she going to say yes because of the cameras? That's where my mind was going.
And how many times have we seen it?
Right.
When we're like, please don't.
Yeah.
And they do. So Mason says that he just validated Madison. And when he did it, it just didn't feel right. So this is what he's telling Meg to get out of it. And he said it, you know, he's just like, I just said it to the wrong person.
Right.
You know, and Meg wants to know if he felt confused before or after Madison picked Alex.
Yeah.
Which, my queen, yes.
He never really answered that question, did he?
I don't think he did. I don't think he clarified it because I think she shut it down.
Yeah.
And was just like, I need somebody who would have known.
And he tells her that she's his number one.
And it doesn't matter.
Nope.
It goes straight into episode 6.
Yep.
Do I Know You? We're right back in with Mason and Meg, and this is where she ends it. Meg doubles down and won't be able to get past not knowing if he would have picked her.
Not just her, but the people who are going to be talking to her about it as well.
And I just thought she will be so relieved when she's watching this back.
Yeah.
Because it's clear, at least from what they're showing us, he wanted Madison.
Yeah.
But Madison wasn't having it.
Yeah, and before she ended it too, like, Mason was just running out of ideas of how to make that work.
He was just saying the same thing. I just told the wrong person.
You know, you're not my number one, you know.
So then we go to Daniel and Taylor. He proposes.
Yeah.
So then we walk into the reveal of Lauren and David. And
it was a long ass hug.
It was a long ass hug.
They were both shaking really bad.
Yes.
Right. The ring almost didn't fit. I noticed that. But I don't know if it's because of the shaking or if it's...
That's like, what I took it as.
He's like, yeah. He kind of like let her take over.
Just get it on there. But I will say they had the most genuine moment I think I've ever seen in a Love is Blind reveal. And Lauren was like, I'm so sweaty. I feel like I smell.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
He didn't say she didn't smell. He was just like, it's okay. And I feel like that. I'm an awkward sweater too. Like, I get nervous. So I get it.
But that was, I like that moment. That was nice.
And they do hold hands the whole time while they're sitting down.
Yeah.
You know, like, it got a little awkward, but I think it may have just been more of like first reveal jitters versus not being attracted.
Yeah. There were some awkward moments in there for sure. Like, she says, like, what do you think? And he says, I don't know. I was like, oh. I think they were so nervous they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know?
But Dave not knowing what he thinks kind of does track. Like, then we go to Devin and Virginia.
And they also have to figure out a lot about the relationship too.
Yeah, they were saying that other couples have been like, oh, well, we're going to buy this house. We're going to move in together. And they were like...
And we haven't talked about that. And she's like, well, yeah, it's okay. We just have to figure it out.
Well, they were in a love triangle trying to figure out who was going to pick,
Yeah.
much less how they're going to live their lives.
Right. I think they were focused on that a little bit too much than how to have this relationship work.
Lauren was trying to tie him down.
Yeah. Yeah. And then figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we go to Devin and Virginia. Devin proposes. Let's see. Then we get back to Alex and Madison. All right. This is some of the most intense notes I had because this was nuts.
Yeah.
So we're doing gifts. Madison gives Alex a rock. She collects them. Alex gives Madison a book of pictures that his grandma drew. I think about Argentina or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. No, Guatemala.
Guatemala, you're right.
He says Guatemala.
I remember you commenting on that.
Yeah.
And then Madison's second gift to Alex is a used paintbrush. So we're thinking things are going smoothly.
Yeah.
And then Alex brings up his biggest concern about avoidance.
Again with this avoidance thing, man. Let it go, move on, or break it off. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Madison encourages him to trust that she'll do what she says.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alex weirdly starts to bring up Mason. Repeatedly.
Yeah, he would not let that go.
And he just kept being like, well, I can see where Mason's coming from.
Right.
You know, he's a good guy.
Right.
And
he just kept going on and on about it.
To the point where it's like, are you dating Mason? Like, it was very
Right.
awkward and uncalled for. And then Madison literally tells him what she needed him to do for her in that moment was to validate her.
Yeah, she was definitely feeling invalidated.
And not to just go on and on about how Mason is great. And Alex keeps just saying, I guess I'm too understanding.
Right. He's giving me all lives matter.
Facts.
Yeah.
And then Madison starts tapping her cup with her nails. And I'm not gonna lie, I could relate. Like, there's a moment where you're just like, I need you to stop talking.
Right.
And instead of saying something mean, she's gonna be like, I'm just gonna tap and think.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're tapping a lot over there. She's just like, once again, Alex says he's hesitant because of their communication. But this girl communicates more clearly than anyone ever on the show.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And Allison, Jesus Christ. Alex breaks up with Madison.
That's crazy.
This was not on my bingo card.
No.
I'm
You
mad
can tell
about
that Madison, it was not on her bingo card either.
Why would it? This date was so weird.
Yeah.
It started out great with gifts. Then he randomly starts talking about Mason and defending him ad nauseum. And then when she tells him clearly what she needs, he then is like, well, I'm concerned about our communication.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Right.
I was upset about that. And I was also mad because we spent 6 episodes invested in this.
Right.
The triangle, nobody won. Not Meg and Madison. Not Alec or Meg and Mason.
That's crazy, man.
Not Alex and Madison.
I really wanted to see Madison throughout
Yes.
the episodes.
I'm just like, why? Did we have to spend so much time in this?
She would have probably been like the one that's grounded throughout the episodes.
I think it would have been hilarious. I think she would have been a great narrator, especially for other couples too.
Yeah.
I think it would have been very funny.
Very true.
So I was quite irritated that we spent that much time for nothing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Then we go into Devin and Virginia's reveal. I'm gonna let you just you had a lot of opinions about Devin and Virginia's reveal.
They were shaking a lot. You know, they
were shaking a lot.
He had a hard time getting the ring on. You know, at first I was like, I don't think it's gonna fit. I don't know. And then a lot of thank yous.
Oh my god.
So many thank yous.
So awkward.
Thank you.
You're so pretty. Thank you.
And like her looking down, right?
The whole time.
I'm like, damn.
I'm telling you, I think she was trying to avoid a kiss.
Yeah, I think so too.
It was very awkward.
Yeah. And they haven't kissed like the whole time. They didn't kiss until they were leaving.
We also found out that her dad thinks she's on a spiritual retreat. He doesn't know she's there.
Yeah.
That's gonna be awkward.
Yeah.
Like, how you gonna lie to your daddy and say you on a spiritual retreat and you on reality TV? Like, pick another lie.
And then you're setting him up terribly by doing that.
Yeah.
So they're rambling without even a kiss, and then they finally kiss at the end.
Yeah.
But she looked intense. She looked tensed up.
Yeah, and
Pretty
even when she
much.
walked away, she kind of had her
Yeah.
hands up like this and kind of walked away.
Right.
All right, then we do, I think, our last reveal.
Yeah.
which
Daniel
is,
and Taylor.
Yeah. He's still worried about his height.
Yeah. Before he goes out there, he's talking about his height again and if she's gonna be taller and stuff like that. And me personally, I have dated somebody who is taller than me, and I didn't like it when she would put her arm around my shoulder because I felt really short. And I was like, no, don't do that.
So you love the fact that I'm way shorter than you?
Yes.
There you go. I'm happy that we could do that for each other.
Yeah, me too.
So the doors open and they both awkwardly say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, they like hugged, shook hands. And then they
Yeah.
kissed.
And oh, wait, no, we should hug, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little weird. Of course, we got the proposal. She's an inch, maybe inch and a half, 2 inches taller than him in heels.
Yeah.
So he actually didn't say anything about that.
Right,
She
yeah.
was like, he's a little shorter, but like
Yeah.
she didn't seem like
Not much of a
put off.
difference, right.
Right. So then we get to 24 hours later, and we're at the women's hotel. And then Taylor's being interviewed.
It's about to go down.
And she, according to the interview, she's realized that Daniel was so familiar to her and thought that that wasn't the first time that he had seen her. Mm-hmm. According to Taylor, she believes that Daniel had followed her on Instagram not long before coming on the show.
Yeah.
And her Instagram has details about her that would have clued him in about her, like the Taco Bell thing, or like what
Christmas.
she does, and like Christmas,
Yeah.
So she thinks he knew exactly what she looked like when talking in the pods.
And then, to my surprise again, they actually meet up and talk about it.
They do. Taylor drops the info about him following her on Instagram and said he followed her and then unfollowed her. And then Daniel denies it. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, he says if I did follow you, I probably just followed you and unfollowed you or something like that.
Which is also still her point and makes no sense.
Right.
So then Taylor's like, well, she describes the profile picture.
Yeah.
Which also kind of is easy for him
Or
to
one of the
deny.
pictures on his Instagram account.
Yeah, the one she thought would have followed her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Daniel's like, no, there's a picture of me in front of a fireplace, but I'm not holding a drink. And she's like, well, that's the one that was, following me.
Right. Right.
Now, according to Taylor, they also had people in common on their profiles. But they just kind of leave it.
Yeah.
And she does say, I have grown to love this person, which is also just okay.
Yeah.
And then we just get coming up scenes.
Yeah.
The honeymoons, Lauren and Dave may be in trouble in paradise from, this little clip. Mm-hmm. Joey has OCD, which I don't know how we're just hearing about this now.
Right.
Ben and Sarah meet the parents. I think that's going to be interesting.
Huh.
Meeting of the love triangles. The couples are coming together.
Yeah.
And we have the couples who didn't even make it to the honeymoon. They all broke up and they're about to meet.
Right.
Madison has pink hair now, so that'll be interesting. And we only see Joey and Monica at the altar. Now, we know some other people walk, because I know there's at least a blonde. But those are the only two people we see their faces at the altar.
Are you calling it? Are they the gemstones of the season?
I probably, from what we've seen, from these first 6 episodes, yes.
Yeah.
We will see what happens with the next drop.
Yeah.
But, I mean, is there a couple that you're seeing that you think would
Nope.
make it at this point besides them?
Nope. It's all bad. Bad, bad, bad.
It's Love is Blind.
It's Love is Blind. Well, I think that wraps it up for Love is Blind, Season 8, Episodes 4 through 6, the recap, the opinions.
Next week, we will talk about the next batch of episodes. If they drop another 6, we'll break it up into 3 and 3. It's a lot of content to cover. So we like to break it down, so it gives people a little more time to watch and makes it a little more digestible. So yeah, we'll be back to talk about whatever's happening next.
That's a wrap.